This is Dateline Friday, August 6th, 1999. Tonight, she's haunted by a horrific act and an unanswered question. Why did her 13-year-old son open fire on his classmates in Jonesboro, Arkansas?
There is no why. He cannot tell you why.
Now her son, Mitchell Johnson, is revealing his thoughts in letters to a former classmate.
I lost friends like you did. The only difference is, I was the one doing the killing. When you first got the letter, were you angry?
No, I was shocked.
Tonight, Bob Dotson with an NBC exclusive. Coping with the high cost of higher education, parents are pleading for help.
Just watching the numbers, it's quite scary.
This business promises to cut through the red tape of financial aid
Phones can drive you out of your mind.
and show you the money.
There's $60 billion out there.
But does it deliver?
I feel like we were robbed.
Hoda Kotb with a Dateline hidden camera investigation. He fulfilled his childhood dreams by becoming a world-class dancer, but he pushed himself too far.
At one point in my career, I thought the more pain I could take, the better dancer I would be.
When his hips gave out, his days of dancing seemed to be over. But could cutting-edge surgery give him a second chance?
These are operations that technically are much more difficult than conventional replacements.
For years,
Sarah James on a dancer, a doctor, and a dream. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, here comes Deep Blue Sea.
These sharks are as real or more than real than any shark that you would want to encounter.
Action shark.
How did movie makers make these sharks such lethal weapons?
So how cool is this thing? Basically,
the world's best toy, isn't it?
Rubber and
John Larson and Sharks to Die For. A Dateline state-of-the-art. Dateline with Jane Pauley and Stone Phillips. Plus Tom Brokaw, Katie Couric, and Maria Shriver. From Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, here is Katie Couric.
Good evening. Tonight, the story of a 14-year-old boy who loves gym, fast food, and wonders about heaven. Sounds like a typical kid, but he's not. He's Mitchell Johnson of Jonesboro, Arkansas. 16 months ago, he and a friend opened fire on their school, killing 5 people, wounding 10 others. This week on the Today Show, you may have heard how he began an extraordinary exchange of letters with a boy he nearly killed. And you also heard for the first time what Mitchell's mother says about the son she can't help but love. Tonight on Dateline, we have more. Here's Bob Dotson.
I just learned to live every day of my life with what's happened. And hopefully we'll all come through this and be stronger and better people for it, I hope.
Gretchen Woodard can't imagine why it all happened. What possessed 2 little boys, one of them her son, to pull a fire alarm at their school and open fire on 15 fellow classmates and teachers, killing 5. It's been a year since Gretchen's boy Mitchell Johnson, 13 at the time, and his then 11-year-old accomplice Andrew Golden were locked with their secrets behind bars.
Andrew had never been to our house. They weren't in the same classes at school, different grades.
Gretchen Woodard is only now talking in detail about her son's role in the shootings and his life behind bars.
He did not know for 3 weeks who was killed and who was hurt. And I remember that day like it was yesterday, when he was told. And I remember his head hitting the table and sobbing and the tears rolling from his eyes, and he said they were all my friends.
Even now, Gretchen struggles to explain the shootings to her 3-year-old daughter, Jessie, who has been taunted by neighborhood kids.
She'd come in the house just breathless and sobbing and saying, "My Mitchell is a murderer." And I looked at her, fell to my knees, and held her.
What'd you tell her?
I told her yes. I said that Mitchell, that people died and that there were teachers And she looked at me with these innocent eyes of a 3-year-old and said, "Were they bad people?" And I said, "No, Jesse, they were good people."
Mitchell was caught almost immediately and whisked off to jail. In a letter to a former classmate, he has written about his life now. He says jailers let him listen to his favorite rap music, shoot 'em up, and watch Jerry Springer. That show, writes Johnson, is a trip. People be knocking, fighting over girls.
When you first got the letter, were you angry?
No, I was shocked. I kind of like took a deep breath.
Colby Brooks ducked bullets in that schoolyard too.
I saw bullets flying everywhere and people going down and just blood and everything.
One of those bullets killed Colby's girlfriend, Natalie. Mitchell doesn't apologize for the murders, but remembered Natalie in a letter. "I miss her. She was a pretty girl. Boy, was she smart. All the girls I miss. Mrs. Wright was a great teacher. God bless their souls." Colby wrote back,
"Dear Mitchell, hey, what's up?"
asking the question we all want answered. Why did Mitchell Johnson shoot his friends? Mitchell answers,
To be honest with you, I really do not know why exactly.
His letters seem to indicate the shooting started as a prank. "I honestly didn't want anyone to get hurt, but it happened anyway. It was bound to, though. I should have thought it out first."
He goes on to write, I was not mad at anyone, Colby.
"I was honestly happy. I had a very loving family. We had a good relationship. Had friends like you. Had girlfriends." Now, 16 months after the murders, Mitchell says he misses them. He goes on to ask Colby, "Is it hard to write to a person like me, a murderer of both yours and my friends? Is it hard? I understand the pain. You may not think of it like this, but I have the same pain you all have. I lost friends like you did. The only difference is, I was the one doing the killing."
I imagine it's hard on him too, but it's tougher on us. It's real tough.
There is no why. He cannot tell you why.
Does it bother you that he doesn't know why?
If there was a why, I would go to the ends of this earth and say, I'd be the first one out there saying, this is why this happened.
But his mom admits Mitchell and Andrew did plan the shootings, even stole a getaway car.
These 2 little boys went to 3 different gas stations trying to get gas in my van because it sat on empty. And they were too little, nobody would turn on the pumps for them, but why didn't somebody call the police?
Before they shot those 15 friends.
He said to my mom so many times, Grandma, I ruined my life in 10 minutes' time.
Now Mitchell's home is a cell for at least 7 years. His family is allowed to see him twice a month. Under Arkansas law, Mitchell must be released at age 21. Nearing his 15th birthday, he writes, "I haven't changed. Not personally, anyway. I'm still the same kid you knew before. The only difference is, I'm locked up." But Mitchell is making good grades in the detention center and getting special privileges. "We get to go up to the gym every Wednesday night. We eat free world food, too. Boy, do I ever miss that. McDonald's, Wendy's, Arby's, all that."
It kind of breaks your heart to hear a child talk about the free world.
I know there's a lot of moms and dads wondering how he's doing. How is he progressing, because he will be back out again. And that's frightening to a lot of people.
Yes. And I understand that. Like I said, I'm very grateful. This facility, I had heard horror stories about. They are doing the best they can to give him an education.
But what is he doing to become a better man?
He's a child yet, too. I think he works very hard, not just to cover this up, but to get down and look at the possibilities of why this happened.
What do they tell you?
He shows leadership qualities. He helps others. He volunteers after all his work's done to help some of the kids that aren't capable mentally of working on certain programs. And that's the Mitchell I always knew, and that don't surprise me.
Did you see any rage? Did you see it coming on?
No, that's what's so hard, I guess, for me. It's been since March 24th of '98. I've yet to sleep a night through. Oh. And it's not that. There's such an emptiness in my heart. You know, your whole world goes upside down, and yes, there's days, especially after this happened, that you question everything. Getting up and making breakfast, you know, maybe if I'd done this different. But I found out real quick the guilt and the anger you feel inside will consume you if you let it. And you can't. I look in my other kids' eyes and know I have to go on.
His letters pose a final question. Where do you think you're going when you die? And he goes on to say, I hope I go to heaven. You never know. Look what I did.